Welcome to Prevention Leaders Podcast with Dave Closson, your source for insights into the world of substance misuse prevention. Each episode, Dave brings you the latest strategies, expert discussions, and real-life success stories designed to empower your work and inspire impactful change. Whether you're a prevention professional, community advocate, or simply passionate about making a difference, this podcast will keep you informed and motivated. Get ready to lead with a confidence that drives lasting results. Let's lead the change together.
Welcome back to the Prevention Leaders Podcast. I'm Dave Closson, and today we're diving into something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough in prevention. We're talking about execution. And you've probably seen it before, a well-funded, well-planned prevention effort that somehow still falls flat, despite the right training, the resources, and the infrastructure. The impacts just don't last. So why does this happen? Because preparation alone isn't enough. Success in prevention isn't just about what we know. It's about how we execute. And this lesson I learned firsthand in the Army infantry. I was a team leader and on our company's recon sniper team. Now, running missions in Iraq for a year, I learned a lot. And one thing I want to tell you is that plans, they don't survive first contact. No matter how much we trained or how well we planned, the reality on the ground was always unpredictable. In combat, success wasn't about having the perfect strategy on paper. It was about having the tactical capacity to adapt, problem solve in the moment, and execute under pressure. And honestly, the same thing happens in prevention work. We develop evidence-based plans. We map out our strategies. We prepare for every scenario we can think of. But then reality hits. A coalition loses momentum. A key partner drops out, or community resists the intervention. That's where tactical capacity comes in. It's a missing link between planning and impact. For decades, prevention efforts have relied on traditional capacity, which focuses on training and knowledge and making sure professionals understand prevention strategies, and infrastructure and resources. Ensuring funding, personnel, and tools are in place. And coalitions and partnerships, bringing together key stakeholders. Then also planning and strategy development through creating comprehensive evidence-based plans. Now, these are critical foundations. I say again, these are critical foundations, but they don't ensure execution. I think back to one night in Iraq when my team was tasked with a rather high-stakes mission, a raid on a suspected enemy stronghold. We had intel. We had a plan. We had contingencies. We had the gear and we had the team. Everything should have gone smoothly. But the second we got on the ground, everything changed. The terrain, it wasn't quite what we were expecting. It was a little different. There was a canal that was a little deeper than our intel said that made it a challenge to cross. The gates around the compound were locked. Our communications, we'll just say that was spotty. Comms issues, they're a norm almost in the military, it seems like. But then there were also new threats. There were more people on site than our intel had told us as well. That wasn't included in the briefing. And so then at that moment, on that mission, our ability to execute mattered more than the plan itself. We had to think fast, adjust tactics, and stay focused on the mission's goals. And that's exactly what happens in prevention. You can have the best training, the best resources, the best coalition partners. But if you're not prepared to adjust in the moment, engage continuously, and sustain momentum, your work won't have the impacts that it could. And that's why tactical capacity is the game changer. It's what separates prevention efforts that stall from those that succeed. Now, there's another key piece here that's often overlooked, and it's resilient leadership. Tactical capacity isn't just about processes. It's about the people behind those processes. The best strategies and contingency plans won't matter if the people leading the work don't have the resilience to keep going when things get tough. I learned this lesson over and over again in the Army. Some missions were rather straightforward. Others, not so much. I remember one day we were running a fairly standard mission outside the wire. Everything was going according to plan. Until it wasn't. The vehicle I was driving was hit by an IED, an improvised explosive device. I was blown up. That situation instantly changed in the snap of a finger, the blink of an eye. And this is where leadership mattered most. We didn't have time to go back and replan and strategize. We had to act fast. We'd just been blown up. We had to adapt. We had to stay focused and execute the new mission without hesitation. Now, resilient leadership means staying clear-headed under pressure, making tough calls without losing sight of the mission, and keeping your team engaged even when things aren't going well. You might not be in a combat zone, but prevention work can be just as unpredictable. Funding can get cut. Key partners can leave. Communities can push back against strategies that should work. Burnout happens. And if we as prevention leaders don't have resilience, how can we expect the team we lead to stay committed? That's why building resilient leaders is just as important as building tactical capacity. If we want prevention work to create lasting change, we need to go beyond planning and focus on execution. Here's how. You're training for real-world execution. You don't want to just talk about challenges. You want to simulate them. You want to practice decision-making under pressure. You want to build adaptability into your plans and assume that something will go wrong and plan for it. Keep your team engaged, even when it's hard. As a resilient leader, you'll know how to motivate teams past obstacles. And then measure impact, not just activity. What's actually changing? Instead of just tracking events, track the results, track the impacts of those events, and foster a culture of resilience. Prevention work is tough. You want to equip your teams with the mindset to push forward despite setbacks, because those setbacks, they are going to happen. Traditional capacity lays the foundation, but tactical capacity and resilient leadership are what bring prevention efforts to life. So let's ask ourselves, are we planning prevention work? Or are we leading teams that make it happen? So thanks for tuning in for this snapshot episode of the Prevention Leaders Podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, share it with a colleague. Be sure to subscribe and let's continue this conversation on social media. Until next time, let's lead prevention efforts with impact.
Thank you for listening to the Prevention Leaders Podcast with Dave Closson. Since prevention is better together, make sure you click the subscribe button and share this and other episodes with a friend. If you have a topic idea or guest suggestion, follow us on social media or email us at info@preventionleaders.com.